My wife told our friends she needed a new husband because this one's broken. I told her she's single now. Problem solved. Then I walked out of the restaurant and never looked back. All right, Reddit. Buckle up because this one's a doozy. My wife called me broken furniture in front of 8 people at dinner, and I decided right then and there that she could find herself a new husband since this one was apparently defective. Here's the full story of how I went from doormat to free man in the span of about 3 months. I'm a 37-year-old guy who works as a mechanical engineer at a manufacturing plant in Ohio. Been there for about 12 years now. Worked my way up from entry-level to senior engineer. Started right out of college when the economy was garbage and I was lucky to find anything. Stuck with it because the work was interesting and the company treated me well. Not exactly glamorous stuff, but it pays well and I'm good at it. I design production systems, troubleshoot equipment failures, optimize workflow, efficiency, that kind of thing. The work requires attention to detail and problem-solving skills, which apparently translates to being boring in my personal life. More on that later. I've always been the type of guy who plans ahead. Always have been, probably always will be. Even as a kid, I was the one organizing neighborhood games, making sure everyone knew what time to show up and who was bringing what. My buddies used to joke that I'd have my retirement planned before I turned 30. They weren't wrong. Started a 401k at 23, bought a house at 29, paid off my truck by 32. Some people call it being responsible. My ex-wife called it being predictable, like it was a terminal disease. The house is important to this story, so let me explain. Bought it about 6 years before the divorce, which means 2 full years before I even met Nicole. 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but solid construction. Did my research before buying, checked the foundation, looked at comparable sales in the area, inspected every inch of that place before signing anything. Mortgage in my name only, deed in my name only, every payment from my account only. I'd been building equity in that thing since I was 29 years old. By the time Nicole moved in after the wedding, I'd already paid down nearly a third of it. My ex-wife Nicole and I met at a charity event about 7 years ago. She was volunteering at the registration table. I was there because my company sponsored the event and someone had to represent us. First thing I noticed was her laugh. She had this energy about her, you know, always the center of attention, always had a story to tell, always knew how to work a room. I thought we balanced each other out. She brought spontaneity to my structured life. I brought stability to her chaotic one. Classic opposites. Attract situation that worked great until it didn't. We dated for 2 years before getting married. Nice ceremony. Nothing crazy extravagant. About 80 people. Backyard reception at her parents' place. Food catered by this local barbecue joint. Everyone loved her. Family seemed to like me well enough. Her dad appreciated that I had a steady job and could actually change a tire without calling roadside assistance. Her mom thought I was polite and well-mannered, the kind of guy you'd want your daughter to marry, apparently. Nicole moved into my house after the wedding and immediately started redecorating, which was fine. Her taste was better than mine anyway, and the place needed a woman's touch. She painted the living room this warm gray color that actually looked good. Bought new throw pillows for the couch, hung art on walls that had been bare since I moved in, made it feel like a home instead of just a place where I slept and ate. The first few years were good. Really good, actually. We'd do date nights every Friday, take weekend trips to different cities, host dinner parties for our friends. Nicole worked part-time at this boutique downtown selling overpriced clothes to rich housewives. She said full-time work was too stressful, and since I made enough to cover everything, why should she burn herself out? I didn't push it. Made sense at the time. Happy wife, happy life, right? I covered the mortgage, utilities, groceries, car insurance, health insurance, everything. Her paycheck went to her personal spending, clothes, nails, hair appointments, lunches with friends. I figured that's what partnership meant. Looking back, the warning signs were there from the beginning. Little comments here and there that I brushed off as her sense of Humor. She'd joke about how I was like a golden retriever, always eager to please. And following her around, called me predictable like it was an insult. Disguised as a compliment, said things like at least you're reliable when I'd remember anniversaries or plan thoughtful dates. Each comment was small, enough to ignore on its own, but they started piling up like snow on a roof. Eventually something had to give. Her friends didn't help. This group of women she hung out with who all seemed to compete over who had the worst husband. Every brunch was apparently of who could complain the most about their partner. Nicole would come home and make comments about how at least I wasn't as bad as Jenna's husband who forgot their anniversary, or how I was better than Megan's husband who never helped with housework. Faint praise that somehow still felt like criticism. The real problem started about 18 months before everything blew up. Nicole joined this book club through one of her coworkers. A bunch of women who met monthly to drink expensive beverages and pretend they'd read whatever novel was on the list. Nothing wrong with that. People need hobbies. But Nicole started coming home from these meetings with new opinions about everything. Suddenly our life wasn't exciting enough. Our house was too suburban, too cookie cutter, too boring. My job was too predictable, too safe, too unambitious. I needed to be more spontaneous, more adventurous, more whatever she decided. I wasn't that weak. Started making comments about how her friend's husband surprised her with a trip to Costa Rica, how another friend's husband quit his corporate job to start a food truck like I was supposed to blow up our entire stable life because some other guy made reckless decisions. The comments got worse. She'd make jokes at my expense during dinner parties. Little digs about how I was basically furniture that paid bills. Her friends would laugh nervously while I sat there, wondering when my wife had started actively disliking started calling me her golden retriever in front of people, which sounds cute until you realize she meant it as an insult. Loyal, dumb, and easy to please. I brought it up a few times in private, asked her why she felt the need to put me down in front of other people. Her response was always the same tired script. I was being too sensitive. It was just her sense of humor. I needed to lighten up. Everyone makes jokes about their spouse. Was I really so fragile that I couldn't handle a little teasing? So I lightened up. I let the comments slide. I told myself that every marriage had rough patches, and we'd work through it. I kept planning thoughtful dates and remembering important occasions and being the reliable, predictable golden retriever she seemed to resent so much. Kept paying every bill, maintaining the house, building our savings while she spent her paycheck on whatever caught her eye. Kept thinking that if I just tried harder, loved her better, proved I wasn't boring, things would improve. They didn't. Then came the dinner that changed everything. We had this monthly tradition with 3 other couples we'd known for years. Good people, solid marriages, the kind of friends you actually look forward to seeing. Dave and Melissa, my buddy from college days. Mike and Brittany, met them through a golf league. Ryan and Courtney, newer additions who'd moved into the neighborhood 2 years back. We'd rotate houses or pick a restaurant and just catch up on life, share what was happening with everyone. That night we were at this Italian place we'd been going to for years. Nice atmosphere, great pasta, reasonable prices. The usual spot for our group when nobody wanted to host. Nicole was in rare form. That evening, she'd had a rough week at the boutique, some issue with a difficult customer and a manager who took the customer's side. I could tell from the moment we sat down that she was looking for a target to unload on, and surprise, surprise, the target was me. The conversation was flowing normally at first, people talking about their kids, their jobs, vacation plans. Ryan mentioned they were thinking about going to Hawaii next spring. Mike was dealing with some project at his company that had everyone working late. Normal dinner, party stuff. Then someone asked me about a project I was working on at the plant. New production line I designed that was going to increase output by about 15%. Pretty proud of it, actually. Had been working on the plans for months. Started explaining the basics when Nicole cut me off mid-sentence. God, I need a new husband. She announced it to the entire table like she was ordering dessert. This one's broken. Dead silence. I mean, The kind of silence where you can hear the ice settling in people's water. Glasses. Someone coughed. Her best friend, Kayla, who'd come without her husband that night, tried to let out this awkward laugh to break the tension. But Nicole wasn't finished. Seriously. Though he's useless. Just works and sleeps. Works and it's like being married to a very expensive piece of furniture that occasionally takes out the garbage. 8 people staring at me. My face was probably red enough to guide ships through fog. Dave was studying his breadstick like it contained the secrets of the universe. Mike was suddenly very interested in the bottom of his water glass. The wives were exchanging those loaded glances women do when someone crosses a line. Nobody knew what to say. Something clicked in that moment. I don't know how to describe it other than a switch flipping somewhere deep in my brain. For 18 months, I'd been making excuses, telling myself things would get better, that she didn't really mean it, that it was just stress or her sense of humor or some phase she was going through. But sitting there in that restaurant, watching my wife smile while she called me broken in front of everyone we knew, I realized something important. She meant every word, and she'd keep meaning it until I did something about it. I'd heard versions of this before, months of little comments, digs about how boring I was, how I wasn't fun anymore, how I needed to try harder, always in front of other people, always brushed off as jokes when I brought it up later. But that night, something different happened. I stopped making excuses for her. I stopped trying to see it from her perspective. I just saw it clearly for what it was. Disrespect, pure and simple. I picked up my napkin, folded it neatly, and placed it on the table. Stood up slowly, like I had all the time in the world. Everyone was watching, probably expecting me to laugh it off like I always did. You're single now, I said calmly, looking right at Nicole. Problem solved. Started walking toward the door. Wait, what? Nicole's voice behind me, confused like she couldn't process what was happening. Where are you going? Babe, it was just a joke. Come on, sit down. I kept walking through the restaurant past the hostess stand, who gave me a sympathetic look out the front door into the parking lot. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my truck. Ignored it. Got in, started the engine, drove home. The drive took about 15 minutes, and I spent every second of it thinking clearly for the first time in months, maybe years. No anger bubbling up, no sadness crashing over me, just this cold clarity about what needed to happen next. Like when you're troubleshooting a broken machine and suddenly you see exactly where the failure point is. Got home, went straight to the bedroom and started packing. Grabbed my laptop for work, enough clothes for a week, all my important documents from the filing cabinet, passport, birth certificate, social security card, the deed to the house, recent pay stubs, tax returns from the last 3 years, everything I might need if this turned into a legal situation, which I had a strong feeling it would. My phone had about 30 missed calls by then, texts flooding in every few seconds. Nicole was apparently cycling through confusion, anger, and panic based on the message preview notifications I kept seeing. Where are you? This is crazy. You're overreacting. Please just come back and talk to me. Call me back right now. I turned the phone off completely. Didn't need the distraction. Checked into a hotel about 20 minutes from the house. Nothing fancy, just a clean room with a decent bed and a desk where I could work if needed. Turn my phone back on just long enough to send one text to my buddy Brandon, a lawyer I'd met through the golf league a few years back. Need to talk tomorrow. Divorce stuff. Will explain in the morning. Then I turned the phone off again and slept better than I had in months, no joke. 8 solid hours of the most peaceful sleep I'd had since before the comments started getting bad. Woke up once around 3 a.m., remembered where I was and why, felt a moment of something that might have been sadness, then went right back to sleep. Morning came with clarity instead of regret. Turned my phone on to about 100 notification missed calls from Nicole, her mom, her sister, 3 of her friends. Voicemails ranging from "You're overreacting" to "This is insane" to "Please just call me back." Text messages with every emotional manipulation tactic you can imagine. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. You. No, I love you. Why are you doing this? To us. Deleted them all without listening or reading beyond the previews. Blocked Nicole's number. Then, I called Brandon. He picked up on the second ring, which told me he'd been expecting the call after my cryptic text. Last night. What happened? My wife's been publicly disrespecting me for months. Last night, she called me broken furniture in front of 8 people. I'm done. Long pause. You sure about this? Divorce is a big step. A lot of marriages go through rough patches and come out stronger. Never been more sure of anything in my life. We talked logistics for about an hour. Turns out, my situation was cleaner than most. House in my name, bought 2 years before. EA from Nicole. Mortgage in my name. Always paid from my account. Separate bank account since day one because Nicole insisted she wanted financial independence. Her car in her name, mine. In mine. No kids, thank God. The only real asset we shared was the marriage itself, and I was ready to dissolve that as quickly as legally possible. Brandon said he could have papers ready within a few days. Explained the process, the timeline, what I should expect. Told me to document everything from this point forward. Every communication, every interaction, save text, screenshot, social media posts, write down any conversations with dates and times. I told him to make it happen. Found a corporate apartment that same day. Month-to-month lease, fully furnished. Quiet complex about 10 minutes from my job. Nothing fancy but clean and private. Signed the paperwork, moved in. My bag, set up my laptop on the little desk in the corner. Felt strange being alone after 5 years of marriage, but also freeing. Nobody to impress, nobody to disappoint. Just me and my choices. The divorce papers were served to Nicole at her job 3 days later. Brandon said serving at work wasn't the nicest move, but I didn't owe her nice anymore. She was working at the boutique when the process server walked in, probably expecting a delivery. I heard later that she made quite a scene, crying and yelling about how unfair it was, how I was humiliating her. The other employees had to calm her down. Her manager sent her home early. Part of me felt a small twinge about that, but then I remembered the look on her face when she called me broken, and the feeling passed. My phone exploded again, this time from different numbers. Nicole had clearly recruited her entire support network. Her sister, Ashley, called from her own phone that evening. What is wrong with you? Do you know how devastated she is? She's been crying for 3 days straight. She should have thought about that before calling me defective in front of our friends. It was a joke, she snapped. She was venting. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. Blocked. Her mom called about an hour later, voice dripping with that particular kind of disappointment mothers-in-law specialize in. You need to fix this. She was just stressed about work. She didn't mean any of it. Marriage is hard work, you know. You don't just give up when things get difficult. She didn't give up? I asked. She called me broken furniture in front of 8 people after months of the same garbage. She meant every word. You're being childish, running away from your problems instead of facing them like an adult, and you raised a daughter who thinks publicly humiliating her husband is acceptable. Looks like we both have regrets. Click. Blocked that. Number 2. Nicole's friend started reaching out next. Text from people I barely knew telling me how sorry she was, how much she missed me, how I was throwing away 5 years over nothing. Each one got the same treatment. Block button, like playing whack-a-mole with phone numbers, but eventually they ran out of moles. About a week into this whole thing, Brandon called with an update. Nicole had hired a lawyer and was contesting the divorce. Her argument was that I'd abandoned the marriage over a harmless comment, and she was entitled to consideration given our 5 years together. Get statements from the people at dinner, Brandon suggested. They all heard what she said, and based on what you've told me, this wasn't an isolated incident. We need to document the pattern. I reached out to the 3 other couples from that night. Felt awkward asking friends to get involved in my divorce, but Brandon said their testimony could be important. Asked if they'd be willing to provide written statements about what happened. Every single one of them said yes immediately. Dave, who I'd known since college, texted back within minutes. Dude, we've been uncomfortable with how she talks to you for months. That night was brutal to watch. I wanted to say something, but didn't know if it was my place. Happy to help however I can. Mike, my golf buddy, called me directly. She crossed a line and we all saw it. You have my support completely. Brittany was furious. On the drive home, kept saying she couldn't believe Nicole would do that to you. Let me know what you need, and I'll write whatever statement helps. Ryan, the newest member of our group, sent a long text. I've only known you guys for 2 years, but even I could tell something was wrong with how she treated you. What she said was completely out of line. Courtney and I talked about it that night. Both agreed you deserved better. I'll write whatever statement you need. Sent everything to Brandon. Felt good, knowing I wasn't crazy that other people had noticed the disrespect, too. Sometimes when you're in a bad situation, long enough, you start to wonder if you're the problem. Then Nicole started getting creative with her revenge tactic. First incident, my credit card got declined at a gas station. Standing there like an idiot while the pump rejected my card. Checked my account on my phone and found it frozen. Called the bank immediately. What's going on with my account? Your wife filed a fraud alert, sir. She said you've been making erratic purchases and she's concerned for your mental state. She requested the account be frozen pending investigation. She's not on this account. I'm the sole account holder. We're getting divorced. I understand, sir, but she provided your social security number, your account number, your mother's maiden name, and enough personal details to seem credible. We had to take the claim seriously under our fraud protection protocols. Took me 3 hours at the bank to sort everything out. Had to show ID, the divorce filing, paperwork, proof of residence at my new apartment. Had to speak with 3 different managers and fill out forms declaring my wife had no authorization on any of my accounts. The branch manager was apologetic but firm about following protocol. This is harassment, she said while reviewing my documentation. I'm noting in your file that this woman has 0 authorization on any of your accounts. I'm also flagging your account for additional verification requirements, which should prevent anyone from making changes without your physical presence and multiple forms of ID. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Documented everything. Got the manager's card, sent it all to Brandon. This was going to help my case. A few days later, I decided to go back to the house to get more of my stuff. Clothes for different seasons, some tools from the garage, books I'd been meaning to read, a few sentimental items from my pre-Nicole life. Simple enough, I thought. Walked up to my own front door, the door I'd been walking through for 6 years, put my key in the lock, and nothing. She'd changed the locks on a house she didn't own, on a house I'd bought years before. Meeting her, stood there for a minute, just staring at the door, my house, the house I bought and paid for, the house I'd maintained and improved, the house where every single mortgage payment had come from my account. Called Brandon from the front porch. She changed the locks on my house. The house solely in your name, the one you bought before you even met her. Yep. Long pause, then what sounded like a laugh. Perfect. This helps us tremendously. I'm filing a police report right now and getting you access today. Don't leave the property. 2 hours later, 2 officers showed up and knocked on the door. Nicole answered, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Sweatpants, messy hair, eyes red from crying or anger or both. Face went pale when she saw the cops. Ma'am, this gentleman owns this property. He's provided documentation showing sole ownership. You need to let him in. We're married, Nicole protested, voice getting shrill. This is my house, too. I live here. The officer, an older guy, who'd clearly dealt with 100 situations just like this, looked tired already. Do you own this house? Is your name on the deed or the mortgage? Well, no, but I live here. That should count for something. I have rights. Ma'am, you can't change the locks and prevent the owner from accessing his own property. That's not how property law works. Please step aside. She let me in, glaring the whole time like I was the one who'd done something wrong. I walked through the house I'd owned for 6 years, feeling like a stranger, found all my belongings in garbage bags in the garage, clothes, books, my grandfather's watch, photos from before I met her, tools my dad had given me, everything, just stuffed into black plastic bags, like trash waiting for the curb. Really? I asked, gesturing at the pile. You were going to throw away my stuff. You left. Her voice was acid. You abandoned me over one little joke. What was I supposed to do? Build a shrine to a man who walked out on his marriage? The officers helped me document everything, took photos of the bags, the changed locks, made note of her statements, wrote it all down in their report. They helped me load my truck with as much as I could fit. As I was leaving, Nicole tried the crying routine, tears streaming down her face, voice cracking. I said I was sorry. Why? Won't you just talk to me? We can work this out. I'll change. Whatever you want. You never said sorry. You said it was a joke, that I was overreacting. That's not an apology. I'm saying it now. I'm sorry. I'm really, truly sorry. Too late. One of the officers stopped me at my truck before I drove away. Older guy, wedding ring on his finger, probably seen every kind of domestic mess in his career. Good for you, man. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. Seen too many guys stick around way longer than they should, because they think they have to. Take care of yourself. Brandon was thrilled with all the new evidence when I sent it over. The changed locks, the garbage bags, the police report. She's destroying her own case with every stunt she pulls, he said. Keep documenting everything, every single thing. But Nicole wasn't done being petty, not even close. My gym membership got canceled. The following week, I showed up for my usual morning workout and my card wouldn't scan. Called the front desk to find out what happened. Your wife called and said you wanted to cancel. She knew your membership number and account details. She's not authorized to touch my accounts. We're getting divorced. Can you reinstate it? They did, with a password protection this time. Had to create a whole separate PIN just to make any account changes. Then my car insurance company called. Someone had tried to cancel my policy. Same story. Nicole had impersonated me, had enough personal information to sound credible, and nearly left me driving without coverage. Had to lock down everything after that. Every subscription, every service, every account I could think of. Changed all my passwords to random strings I stored in an encrypted app. Added two-factor authentication wherever possible. Set up fraud alerts with all 3 credit bureaus. Changed my security questions to answers only I would know. Things Nicole had never heard about. She was systematically trying to make my life difficult, probably thinking the hassle would convince me to come back. Had the exact opposite effect. Every stunt she pulled just confirmed I'd made the right decision. 2 months into this nightmare, the divorce was grinding through the legal system. Brandon filed for exclusive possession of the house, since Nicole had already demonstrated she couldn't be trusted with access to my property. Court day came. Nicole showed up with a lawyer finally. Some guy in a cheap suit who looked like he already regretted taking her case. Probably took it thinking it was easy money, then discovered what he was actually dealing with. The judge was an older woman who'd clearly seen every divorce trick in the book. No nonsense type with reading glasses on a chain and zero patience for drama. Nicole's lawyer stood up first. Your Honor, while the house is technically in my client's husband's name, she's resided there for 5 years and has contributed to its maintenance and improvement. Contributed how? The judge interrupted. Was she on the mortgage? Did she make payments? She contributed through household labor and emotional support of the marriage. The judge's eyebrow went up about an inch. Not a good sign for Nicole's side. Brandon presented our evidence next. Methodical, organized, documented. The deed showing I'd owned the house for 2 years before meeting Nicole. Mortgage statements showing every single payment came from my account. Bank records proving I'd covered every household expense during our entire marriage. The The utilities, the insurance, the groceries, everything. Then the harassment documentation. Police reports about the change locks. Bank records showing the fraud alert she'd filed. Statements from the gem and insurance company about her. Impersonation attempts. Photos of my belongings in garbage bags. Additionally, Your Honor, we have signed statements from 6 witnesses who observed Mrs. Patterson publicly humiliating my client at the dinner that precipitated this divorce. This was not an isolated incident, but part of a documented pattern of disrespectful behavior stretching back approximately 18 months. Nicole's lawyer tried to object. Your Honor, my client was simply expressing frustration with her marriage. These witnesses are clearly biased toward the husband. These witnesses include 2 couples who were originally friends with the wife. Brandon countered. They came forward because they found her behavior toward my client inappropriate and wanted to support his case. The judge reviewed everything for what felt like an hour, but was probably 10 minutes. Finally, she looked up. I'm granting exclusive possession of the residence to the petitioner. Mrs. Patterson, you have 30 days to remove your personal belongings from the property. Any further attempts to interfere with Mr. Patterson's accounts, property, or daily life will be considered contempt of court and handled accordingly. Do you understand? Nicole's lawyer nodded quickly, but Nicole herself was having trouble staying composed. Her face was red, hands clenched in her lap. Then came the spousal support hearing. This is where Nicole thought she'd finally win something. Her lawyer had filed a motion claiming she was entitled to ongoing support since she'd sacrificed her career to support the marriage. Your Honor, my client gave up her career ambitions to focus on maintaining the marital home and supporting her husband's career advancement. She's now facing the prospect of rebuilding her professional life at 35 with a significant gap in her employment history. Brandon had documents ready. Your Honor, Mrs. Patterson has worked part-time by choice throughout the entire marriage. Prior to the marriage, she worked the same part-time position she holds now. She made no career sacrifices whatsoever. She simply chose not to pursue full-time employment because her husband's income covered all household expenses. He presented pay stubs, employment records, everything. 5 years of Nicole working 20 hours a week at a boutique, taking home a modest paycheck that went entirely toward her personal spending while I covered every single bill. My client isn't seeking excessive support, her lawyer argued, just enough to maintain her standard of living while she transitions to independence. The judge reviewed the documents carefully. I see no evidence of career sacrifice. I see evidence of someone who chose not to work full-time while being fully supported by her spouse. Motion denied. That's when Nicole completely lost it. You're all against me. She was practically screaming. He's lying about everything. I gave that man the best years of my life, and he just walked out because of one little joke. One joke. Mrs. Patterson, if you don't compose yourself immediately, I'll hold you in contempt. She didn't compose herself. Security had to remove her from the courtroom while she kept yelling about how unfair everything was, how the system was rigged, how I'd somehow manipulated everyone. Her lawyer approached the bench after she was gone. Your Honor, I'm withdrawing from this case. Smart move. A week later, Nicole was representing herself, filing motions that read like they were written during emotional breakdowns, rambling paragraphs about how she'd been a good wife, how I was vindictive, how she deserved compensation for her time and effort. All denied. Every single one. The final divorce hearing came 3 months after that restaurant dinner. Nicole showed up alone, looking like she'd aged 10 years. No lawyer, no friends in the gallery, just her against the legal system she tried to manipulate. Final judgment, she got nothing. 0. No spousal support because she'd never sacrificed anything. No claim to the house. The judge's final words. I see no grounds for any of your claims. Mrs. Patterson, the property belonged to your husband before the marriage. He bore all financial responsibility throughout. Your conduct since separation has been harassing and entitled. You're fortunate he hasn't Filed a countersuit for harassment. Divorce granted. She tried to appeal. Filed the paperwork herself since no lawyer in town would touch her case. After word got around about her. Courtroom meltdown. Appeal denied in record time. No new evidence presented. No errors in original judgment decision. Stands. Heard through the grapevine that she moved in with her mom after the divorce. Got a full-time waitressing job. First full-time job she'd had in years. Apparently tells everyone who'll listen that I stole her home and left her with nothing. One of our mutual friends finally confronted her about it. He didn't steal anything, Courtney told her. It was his house, his money. You treated him like garbage for months. And he left. That's not theft. That's consequences. Nicole apparently just cried and said everyone was against her. Courtney stopped talking to her after that. Kayla, Nicole's best friend from that dinner night, actually reached out to me a few months after everything settled. I owe you an apology, she said. We all knew she was treating you badly. We just thought it was your dynamic that you were okay with it. Then seeing how she acted after you left, all the lies and the entitlement. I'm sorry we didn't speak up sooner. Not your job to fix my marriage. Still, you made the right call. She's been spiraling ever since, blaming everyone but herself. Lost most of her friend group over it. Not my problem anymore. Life moves on. That's the thing nobody tells you about divorce. It's not the end of the world, just the end of one chapter. I moved back into my house after the 30-day period, and Nicole had cleared out her stuff. Place felt different, empty in some ways, but also lighter, like a weight had been lifted that I didn't even know I was carrying. Redecorated everything. New furniture, new paint, new energy. Got rid of every reminder of her. The decorations she'd picked out, the art she'd hung on the walls, the throw pillows she'd insisted we needed. Made the space mine for the first time since she'd moved in. Painted the living room a color I actually chose. Hung pictures I actually liked. Felt good. Work was going great. God. Promoted about 2 months after the divorce finalized. My boss pulled me aside one day and said I seemed different, more focused, more confident, better at handling pressure. Whatever changed, keep it up, he said. You're doing the best work I've seen from you in years. Funny how removing someone who constantly puts you down makes you better at everything else. Started dating again about 6 months later. Nothing serious at first, just getting back out there, remembering what it felt like to meet new people without someone criticizing me afterward. Met a woman named Lauren at a bookstore of all places. Both reached for the same copy of some thriller novel. Had that awkward moment of whose hand was there first. Ended up talking for an hour about books and movies and life in general. She asked about my ex eventually. Everyone does when you're starting something new. She sounds exhausting, Lauren said after. I gave her the brief version. She was. Took me too long to see it. Ooh, what? Made you finally leave? She called me broken in front of people, like I was a defective appliance she could trade in for a newer model. That's when I realized I'd been accepting disrespect for way too long. Good for you. Take strength to walk away from something like that. Not sure where things are going with Lauren yet, but it's nice. She's respectful, actually asks about my day and listens when I answer. Basic stuff that shouldn't feel revolutionary, but does after everything I went through. Her sister sent me another message recently from a new number. You destroy her life. Nah, she destroyed her own life. I just stopped letting her destroy mine too. Blocked that number. Like all the others. My mom asked me if I regretted the marriage, if I wished I'd tried harder. Only regret is not leaving sooner. You stayed because you loved her, Mom said. Yeah, I did. The dinner crew invited me over last month. Small gathering at Dave's place. They specifically said Nicole wasn't invited and never would be again. We grilled steaks, watched the game, talked about everything except my ex-wife. Felt normal for the first time in a long time. Ran into Steve a few weeks ago. Nicole's dad. Saw him at the hardware store picking up supplies. He spotted me first, came over looking like he wasn't sure what to say. I want you to know he started. None of us knew how bad it had. Nicole always made it sound like you two are having normal couple stuff. We didn't know she was treating you like that. Told him it wasn't his fault. You were good to her, he said. Better than she deserved, apparently. I'm sorry it ended the way it did. We shook hands and went our separate ways. Last week I got a text from an unknown number. Recognized the area code as Nicole's mom's. Thought about blocking it immediately, but curiosity got me. It was Nicole, using her mom's phone since I'd blocked everything else. I know you probably won't read this, but I wanted you to know I'm working on myself. I know I messed up everything, and I'm not asking for another chance. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, for real this time, for everything. Didn't respond. Deleted the message and blocked the number. 2 days later, Lauren and I were at that same Italian restaurant, the one where everything went down. She'd picked it randomly off some review app. Had no idea about the history. I almost suggested somewhere else, then decided against it. Sat at a different table than that night. Better view, actually. Lauren was telling me about her sister's new baby, showing me pictures on her phone. Waitress came by, took our order, brought bread. Normal evening. Good food, good company. Halfway through dinner, Lauren looked up and asked if everything was okay. Said I seemed distracted. This is actually the place where my marriage ended, I told her. Didn't plan on coming back here, but here we are. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. We can leave if you want. Nah, food's too good. She laughed. We finished dinner, split a dessert, argued over the check like we always do. I won. Walked out of that restaurant holding her hand. Same door I'd walked out of alone 8 months earlier. Different ending this time. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.